Somehow that destroys 50% of at least Manhattan, at least in New York, 50% of it is gone, and they're in this post-apocalyptic world. Not exactly a snap, is it? Yo people, what's going on? Ollie Rodriguez here. I hope you're doing alright, and this one we're talking about the Marvel Avengers game. I'm sure you can tell from the tone of my voice that I haven't got the most positive thoughts about this game from what we've been shown so far. Now, I'm a huge Marvel fan and I want this game to be, let's not say perfect, we'll not throw that word out there yet, but I want this game to be great, okay? Not good, I want it to be great. On the level or on par with Spider-Man PS4. One of the things I think people have had a bit of a negative reaction that I'm not bothered about is the actual look of the characters. I understand why they've used these characters, and obviously like Hawkeye's not in there, but it's like, I'm not bothered about that. I would rather see a bit of a different cast, but I understand why they use this cast of Avengers, and it was nice to see that they were using Hank Pym as an Avenger as well. And if you haven't seen that bit, that was like an extended sort of trailer they threw out later on in the conference. But the actual look of these characters, I don't mind. Sure, they're not perfect. I would have rather the look of Thor Ragnarok for Thor, and also not have him be so Shakespearean and actually update him a bit more to be like how he is in the films. And in terms of how the characters actually look, it's not exactly the same as the MCU versions of them, and I don't think it should be either. But I think the best example of it is the Bruce Banner they've got. He looks near on the mark with how Bruce Banner in the MCU looks, while looking different, while looking similar at the same time. And the other characters, it's not that they look bad, it's just that there's something off about them. And like Captain America's suit, with the mask off I don't like, but with the mask on it looks fine. It's really weird. But the actual look of the characters doesn't bother me all that much. But I think for the larger audience, I think it would have been better to have more resemblance to the MCU characters in terms of their looks. And I think in the way they're behaving in this trailer, they look like they seem to be resembling like the more personalities of the Avengers in the MCU. Now, how they look and how they act doesn't necessarily bother me all that much. I can accept a new adaptation of characters that are going to be different from the MCU. What I do have a problem with is when the story looks very similar to what you have done with the MCU. With Spider-Man PS4, it was its own thing. I'm going to forget that it's part of the shared universe with Avengers, which apparently it is, but it was its own thing in terms of its story. It took elements from the comics and from the movies and then made its own story there that actually told the story of Peter Parker and how he was, and it felt like its own thing. It never made me go, oh, that was a bit like the movies. It had bits of it, like when he tries to stop the train by doing the thing it does in Spider-Man 2, but it doesn't work. But it was like, that wasn't a major story plot. That was just a bit of there's a nostalgia bit for you. There's that bit for you to go, oh, I remember when that happened, but not in the sense of it furthering the plot. In terms of him doing that, trying to stop a train, doesn't make the whole video game like Spider-Man 2. Now, from this Avengers trailer, let's take Tony Stark for instance. He looks like he's having the exact same character arc from the MCU and thrown into a video game. Example number one, you have A-Day. He's being egotistical and having this whole parade for the Avengers and for them. And he's the one back in it, which sort of shows how much of an ego he has. Then we get this post-apocalyptic world. I'll get back to that in a minute. And he's having a breakdown. He can't accept the defeat. He's broken and he can't rest because he lost. Does that remind you of anything? Oh yeah, the start of Endgame. And then by the end of it, it's looking like he's going to have his redemption and find his hope or whatever it is, like when they come and find him after the 5 years, which also was something that was picked up within the actual overall story, not just the character arc. Now, this isn't exactly the snap or anything, is it? Now, on the helicarrier, you have the Terrigen stuff, whatever they've done. The Terrigen mist, bomb, whatever it is. For some reason they got Terrigen on the shield carrier that's doing something. And it gets attacked and blows up, kills Captain America, which I do not believe for a second you have killed Captain America. He's coming back in one way or another, and it looks like, by the way they placed in the trailer, he'll be picking up Mjolnir again. But then, somehow, the Terrigen bomb, I'm just going to call it a bomb, right? Because it is a bomb, it blows up. Somehow, that destroys 50% of at least Manhattan, at least in New York, 50% of it is gone, and they're in this post-apocalyptic world. Not exactly a snap, is it? Do you see what I'm getting at here? It just looks like they're not taking... Oh, I generally don't know how to say it. Do you see what I'm saying here? It just seems like they're taking a lot of story plots and devices from the MCU and just thrown it into this, and it's like, this is not what I want. I want this to be its own world and its own story and not riff off anything else except from having the few moments, okay? And what I really feel like they could have done is just take some different characters and make them the Avengers, maybe, but I don't know. And that is the major thing I'm having a real issue with trying to buy into this game. It's like, I really want to see a great story, okay? I really want to see a great cinematic story told through the video game and have it be its own story that's unique to just the video game. I don't want to be playing this game and every time something happens, me be like, that's a bit similar to the thing that happened in the MCU. And I'm sure it's going to have its unique moments, and I hope it overall feels like its unique own story. But from what they've shown already, it doesn't look good. And if they had only shown the A-Day stuff, like just that and everything going on, and just left it on a cliffhanger on what happens next, like they left it after Cap goes down in the helicarrier and we're just like, so did he die or did he not? I would probably be having a lot more of a better reaction to this trailer and not having so much doubt about it. And when you're ripping off, and this was when I was just like, no, this is a bad sign. It was literally 5 years later. This is one thing I really want to make a rant about this in another video by itself, but it's like, I hate time jumps in movies and in video games. Like, in a movie, it can work, okay? Time jump, 5 years later in Avengers Endgame, I can accept that. It kind of makes the character, it gives the writers something to do with the characters and show more of a depression within the characters and it builds substance to the characters a bit more, showing them 5 years on after they lost, all that sort of stuff. But in a video game, I don't want to be flying around as Tony Stark, for example, and then 1 minute I'm playing as him for about 5 minutes, the next, it's 5 years later. I don't want time jumps in my video games. I want to experience the world and not just have this time jump. In a movie, it's fine, whatever. In a video game, do not want it. I want to experience every minute that happens in a video game. Let me play as Tony Stark or as Hulk or whoever, just saving civilians for at least a few missions at the very least, or a few levels, just for me to get a feel of the world. Maybe they will do that, but I don't want it to be this just 5 year time jump and it's just like, so what happened during that time then? Then in the last day or so, there's been this gameplay thing where people have been able to watch gameplay but not actually play it themselves, or the demo and whatnot, and there's been a lot of comparisons to Thor being Kratos from God of War. I think Iron Man's gameplay has been compared to Anthem in one of the suits that you get to play with there. Hulk is apparently the most fun one to play as. Captain America is supposed to be similar to Spider-Man PS4 and the Arkham games. Black Widow, I don't know. So yeah, that's kind of my major concern for the game. It's not how the characters look, that's fine. My concern for the game is the story. I want this game to be its own world and have its own story. I do not want to complete the campaign and just be like, well, that was a good MCU recap, wasn't it? So yeah, that's my major concern for this game so far, just by looking at the trailers that they've shown so far. I am quite looking forward to playing multiplayer with these characters at the very least, because at least there's not too much story to be worried about there, and you can just level up and play and change characters how you want, I assume, I don't know. And hopefully it means once you get to the end game of the game itself, there's something else for you to do, because that's one thing I found with Spider-Man PS4. Once I completed it, I was just a bit like, well, what do I do now? Because it is a great game, but it's like, and it's really fun to swing around and stuff, but once you completed it, I just find not a lot to do. So I hope this Avengers game fixes that with the multiplayer, or even in the campaign story stuff itself, or the sandbox even, but yeah, I am a bit concerned for this game so far, but I'm going to try and be optimistic about it and hope that something good happens. So yeah, I've been Ollie Rodriguez. This may have been a double upload when I upload it, so, you know, I'm uploading daily this summer, and that's already started by the time you're seeing this video, so subscribe! And seeing as this is a Marvel video itself, I will just let you know that on the week starting the 2nd of July, or the first week of July essentially, it's going to be a Marvel week, because that's when Spider-Man Far From Home is coming out. So if you do like Marvel, I suggest you stay around, and if you want to check out the rest of my videos, go for it. There's a load of Marvel stuff already on my channel if you want to go and watch it, a whole playlist in fact. But if you want to stay around and come back for that section, come back in the first week of July, because there's going to be some great Marvel stuff for you to watch. Anyway, I've been Ollie Rodriguez. I'll stop taking up your time now. I'll see you in my next video, which is tomorrow, should be. Or, yeah, tomorrow. Yeah.